What if everything you've been taught about yourself is a carefully constructed lie? What if the person you show to the world is just a mask hiding the real you, the parts you deny, the emotions you suppress, the desires you're ashamed to admit? Carl Jung discovered something terrifying. We spend our entire lives running from our true nature, and that's exactly what makes us sick. Today, we explore 5 uncomfortable truths Jung revealed about the human psyche, truths that will force you to confront the parts of yourself you've been hiding. The 5th one is the most dangerous, because once you understand it, you can never go back to pretending. Before we begin, subscribe to this channel, leave a like, and share your thoughts in the comments. What we're about to explore may not give you comfort, but it will give you clarity. Think about the last time you were completely alone. No phone, no eyes watching, no expectations to meet. Who were you in that moment? And more importantly, how different is that person from the one you present to the world every single day? Jung called this performance the persona, the social mask we construct to survive in society. It's the version of yourself you carefully curate for your job, your family, your friends, even your social media followers. It's the smile you force when you're breaking inside, the confidence you fake when you feel lost, the happiness you project when you're drowning in emptiness. And here's the terrifying part. You've been wearing this mask for so long, you've forgotten it's not your real face. From childhood, you were taught that certain parts of you were unacceptable. Your anger was too much. Your sadness was inconvenient. Your desires were shameful. Your questions were dangerous. So you learned to hide. You built a personality designed not to reflect who you are, but to protect you from rejection, judgment, and isolation. The persona is not evil, it's necessary. It allows you to function in a world that demands conformity. It helps you navigate social structures, hold jobs, maintain relationships. But the problem begins when you forget that it's a role you're playing and start believing that this mask is your true identity. You begin to measure your worth by how well you perform. You chase approval like oxygen. You become addicted to validation because without it, you don't know who you are anymore. You live in constant fear that someone will see through the facade and discover the truth, that underneath the persona, you have no idea what you're made of. Jung warned that the more you invest in the persona, the more disconnected you become from your authentic self. You start to feel like a stranger in your own life. You look in the mirror and wonder why nothing feels real anymore. You achieve success, gain recognition, build the life you were supposed to want, and yet, there's a hollow ache inside that no achievement can fill. This is what Jung meant when he said that the persona is a compromise between the individual and society. It's the price you pay for belonging. But the cost is steep. You sacrifice your soul for acceptance. And the most tragic part? Most people never realize they're trapped. They spend decades perfecting their mask, polishing their image, maintaining their reputation, never stopping to ask, who am I when no one is looking? You see this everywhere. The executive who projects authority but feels like a fraud. The parent who plays the role of having it all together while crumbling inside. The influencer who shares a perfect life online while battling crippling anxiety offline. These are not bad people. They are simply human beings who confuse survival with authenticity. But there's a moment, if you're lucky, when the mask begins to crack. It might happen during a crisis, a loss, a betrayal, a moment of unbearable loneliness when you realize that the person everyone admires is not the person you recognize inside. That's when the question finally surfaces. If I'm not this persona, then who am I? Jung believed that this question is the beginning of the journey toward wholeness. Because to know yourself, you must first stop pretending. You must strip away the layers of conditioning, expectation, and performance. You must be willing to meet the person beneath the mask, even if that person is messy, contradictory, and nothing like what you've been taught to be. But here's what Jung discovered. Beneath the persona lies something even more unsettling. Something you've been taught to fear, to reject, to bury so deep that you've convinced yourself it doesn't exist. And yet, it's always been there, waiting in the darkness, shaping your life in ways you refuse to see. This hidden force is called the shadow. And it's not just a part of you, it's the part you've been running from your entire life. There is a version of you that you will never admit exists. A version you've hidden so well that even you believe the lie. It's the part of you that feels rage when you're told to stay calm. The part that craves power when you preach humility. The part that feels envy, lust, greed, cruelty. All the emotions you've been taught are wrong, weak, or sinful. Carl Jung called this the shadow, and it's not something separate from you. It is you, the disowned, denied, repressed parts of your psyche that you've buried in the unconscious because they don't fit the image you want to project. The shadow is everything you've decided you are not. If you see yourself as kind, your shadow holds the cruelty you deny. If you pride yourself on being rational, your shadow contains the chaos you fear. If you believe you're selfless, your shadow knows every selfish thought you've hidden from the world. And here's the brutal truth Jung discovered. The more you deny the shadow, the more it controls you. Think about it. Have you ever exploded in anger over something small and wondered where that rage came from? Have you ever felt an irrational jealousy towards someone and couldn't explain why? Have you ever made a decision that went against everything you claimed to stand for and justified it later without understanding what really drove you? That was your shadow, operating from the darkness, making choices you don't consciously recognize, sabotaging the life you're trying to build because it refuses to be ignored. Jung believed that the shadow is not evil. It's simply unconscious. It's the accumulation of every trait, emotion, and impulse you rejected because society, family, or religion told you it was bad. But rejection doesn't make it disappear, it only forces it underground, where it grows stronger, more distorted, and far more dangerous. The shadow is why you repeat the same destructive patterns, why you choose partners who hurt you, why you sabotage success just when it's within reach, why you feel an inexplicable emptiness even when everything looks perfect on the surface. Because no matter how carefully you construct your life, the shadow is always there, pulling strings from the unconscious. But here's where it gets even more uncomfortable. Jung said that you can recognize your shadow by paying attention to what triggers you. The traits you hate most in other people are often reflections of what you've denied in yourself. The coworker you despise for being arrogant? Look closer, there's a part of you that craves recognition but refuses to admit it. The friend you judge for being selfish? Somewhere inside, there's a voice asking, when do I get to put myself first? This is the shadow's mirror. It doesn't show you what's out there, it shows you what you refuse to see within. And the most terrifying aspect of the shadow is this: it never goes away. You can't kill it, you can't starve it. You can't pray it away or meditate it into submission. The only way to stop it from controlling your life is to do the one thing you've been avoiding: face it. Jung called this process shadow work, the deliberate and courageous act of bringing the unconscious into consciousness. It means asking the questions you've been afraid to ask. What am I really angry about? What do I actually want that I've been too ashamed to admit? What parts of myself have I rejected because I was taught they were unacceptable? This work is not pleasant. It will force you to confront the lies you've told yourself. It will shatter the illusion of who you think you are. You will discover that you are not as kind, as selfless, as enlightened as you believed. You will see the pettiness, the cruelty, the selfishness, and you will have to accept that these are not flaws to be erased, but aspects to be integrated. Because that's the paradox Jung revealed. You cannot become whole by denying half of yourself. You cannot find peace by pretending your darkness doesn't exist. The path to authenticity is not about becoming better, it's about becoming honest. When you integrate the shadow, something profound happens. The traits you once despised in yourself no longer control you. The emotions you suppressed no longer explode unpredictably. You stop judging others so harshly because you've made peace with your own humanity. You become more compassionate, not because you're morally superior, but because you've stopped pretending to be perfect. But shadow work is only the beginning. Because once you start seeing yourself clearly, you realize something even more unsettling. You are not as unique as you thought. The forces moving through your psyche are not just personal. They are ancient, universal, and shared by all of humanity. This is where Jung's most revolutionary discovery emerges: the collective unconscious, a hidden layer of the mind that connects you to something far older and far deeper than your individual experience. What does this mean for your life? What happens when you realize that the struggles you thought were yours alone are actually part of a shared human story? Share your thoughts in the comments. Have you started to recognize your own shadow? What have you discovered about the parts of yourself you've been hiding? Your reflections might help someone else see their own truth. You believe your thoughts are your own. You believe your fears, your dreams, your desires are uniquely yours. You believe that the struggles you face are personal, isolated, the result of your specific life circumstances. But Carl Jung discovered something that shatters this illusion. Beneath your conscious mind, beneath even your personal unconscious, lies a deeper layer that you share with every human being who has ever lived. He called it the collective unconscious, a psychological inheritance passed down through countless generations, filled with universal patterns, symbols, and forces that shape your behavior without you ever realizing it. This is not mysticism. It's not spirituality. It's psychology at its deepest level. Jung observed that across cultures, across continents, across centuries, the same stories appear, the same symbols emerge. The same psychological forces repeat themselves in myth, religion, art, and dreams. Why does every culture have a flood myth? Why does the hero's journey appear in stories from ancient Greece to modern Hollywood? Why do certain images, the wise old man, the great mother, the trickster, resurface again and again in human consciousness? Jung's answer: because these are not inventions. They are archetypes, primordial patterns embedded in the collective unconscious, inherited psychological structures that influence how you perceive, interpret, and respond to the world. And here's the uncomfortable truth: you are not living your life as freely as you think. These archetypes are always operating beneath the surface, guiding your decisions, shaping your relationships, determining your destiny, and you don't even know it. Think about the roles you fall into without choosing them. The hero who feels compelled to save everyone. The caregiver who sacrifices endlessly for others. The rebel who defines themselves through opposition. The victim who sees life as something happening to them. These are not just personality types. They are archetypal forces expressing themselves through your life. You've been conditioned to believe that your identity is something you created, that you consciously chose your values, your beliefs, your path. But Jung revealed that much of who you are was already written into the structure of your psyche long before you were born. The collective unconscious doesn't care about your personal story. It's older than you, deeper than you, and it will continue expressing itself through humanity long after you're gone. This is why you have instinctive reactions to certain situations, even when you have no logical reason for them. Why you feel drawn to certain symbols, stories, or ideas without understanding why. Why you sometimes act in ways that feel foreign to your conscious self, as if something else is moving through you. Jung believed that the archetypes are not neutral. They carry immense psychological energy. When activated, they can possess you, making you feel larger than life, filled with purpose, driven by forces you can't fully explain. But they can also overwhelm you, turning you into a caricature of a single role, trapping you in patterns you can't escape. The mother archetype, for example, can manifest as nurturing, protective, life-giving. But when unconscious, it can become devouring, smothering, controlling. The hero can inspire courage and transformation, or it can drive you toward reckless self-destruction in the name of proving your worth. The trickster can bring creativity and change, or it can sabotage everything you build, because chaos feels more familiar than stability. You see this in your own life if you look closely. The relationship that felt destined but ended in betrayal. The career path that seemed meaningful but left you empty. The person you idealized who turned out to be nothing like you imagined. These are not just mistakes, they are archetypal dramas playing out through your personal experience. And here's where it becomes even more profound. Jung believed that the ultimate goal of human life is not to escape the archetypes, but to become conscious of them. To recognize when you're being driven by unconscious forces. To see the difference between living your life and being lived by archetypal patterns. This awareness changes everything. When you understand that your obsession with success might be the hero archetype demanding recognition, you can step back and ask, is this truly what I want? Or am I compulsing repeating a pattern? When you realize that your need to fix everyone might be the wounded healer trying to resolve its own unhealed trauma through others, you can pause and ask, am I helping or am I avoiding my own pain? The collective unconscious is not your enemy. It's the reservoir of human wisdom, creativity, and spiritual insight. It's the source of art, myth, and meaning. But it's also the force that can trap you in cycles of suffering if you remain unconscious to its influence. Jung taught that the archetypes are like gods, powerful, immortal, and indifferent to your personal desires. You cannot control them, but you can learn to recognize them. You can develop a relationship with them. You can honor their presence without being possessed by them. And when you do, you begin to see your life not as a random series of events, but as a meaningful unfolding of archetypal patterns seeking expression through your unique existence. But there's still another layer to this. Because the archetypes don't just operate within you, they operate through your relationships. And this is where Jung's most dangerous insight emerges. You don't see other people as they are. You see them as projections of your own unconscious. Thank you for staying with us this far. What you've just learned is only the foundation. The next part is where everything shifts, because we're about to reveal how your unconscious creates the very conflicts, enemies, and suffering you experience in your relationships. The best is yet to come. Here's a truth that will disturb you. You have never truly seen another person. Not your parents, not your partner, not your friends, not even your enemies. What you see when you look at someone is not them. It's a projection of your own unconscious mind reflected back at you. Carl Jung discovered that human beings do not experience reality directly. We experience it through the filter of our psyche. And that filter is filled with unresolved emotions, denied traits, and unconscious patterns that we project onto the world around us, especially onto other people. Projection is the psychological mechanism by which you take something inside yourself, something you refuse to acknowledge, and see it in someone else instead. It's how your internal landscape becomes your external reality without you realizing it. Think about the last time someone made you furious. Not just annoyed, truly enraged. What was it about them that triggered such a strong reaction? Jung would tell you this: the intensity of your emotion is not about them. It's about you. That person is holding up a mirror, reflecting back a part of yourself that you've refused to see. This is why you can't stand people who are arrogant when you secretly crave recognition. Why you despise those who seem weak when you're terrified of your own vulnerability. Why you judge people for being selfish when deep down, you resent how much of yourself you've sacrificed for others. The traits you hate most in others are the traits you've exiled from your own identity. And the more violently you reject them in others, the more certainly they live within you, buried, denied, festering in the unconscious. But projection doesn't only work with negative traits, it also happens with positive ones. This is why you fall in love. Not because you truly know the other person, but because they carry qualities you've disowned in yourself. The confidence you wish you had, the freedom you're too afraid to claim, the passion you've learned to suppress. You don't love them, you love the projection. You love the version of yourself you see reflected in their presence. And when they inevitably fail to live up to that image, when they reveal themselves as flawed, messy, human, you feel betrayed. Not because they lied, but because the projection collapsed. Jung called this the phenomenon of falling in love and falling out of love. It's not about the other person changing. It's about your projection losing its power. The qualities you saw in them were never truly theirs. They were yours all along, waiting to be reclaimed. This is why relationships built on projection always end in disappointment. You cannot sustain intimacy with a fantasy. Eventually, reality intrudes. The perfect partner reveals their imperfections. The idealized friend shows their selfishness. The mentor you worshipped proves to be as lost as you are. And in that moment, you have a choice. You can blame them for failing you. Or you can ask the question Jung believed was essential. What part of me am I seeing in them? Because here's the deeper truth. Every person you encounter is a teacher. Not because they're wise or enlightened, but because they reflect back the parts of your psyche you need to integrate. The people who irritate you are showing you where you're still wounded. The people you envy are showing you what you've denied yourself. The people you admire are showing you potentials you haven't yet claimed. Your relationships are not random. They are psychological mirrors arranged by your unconscious to help you see yourself more clearly. And until you recognize this, you will keep repeating the same patterns, choosing the same kinds of people, experiencing the same kinds of conflicts, wondering why nothing ever changes. Jung believed that withdrawing projection is one of the most difficult and necessary tasks of psychological maturity. It means taking responsibility for your inner world instead of blaming the outer one. It means recognizing that the anger you feel toward your partner might actually be anger toward yourself. That the disappointment you feel in your friend might actually be disappointment in your own choices. That the enemy you've created might actually be an externalized version of your own shadow. When you begin to withdraw projection, relationships transform. You stop expecting others to complete you because you realize that wholeness can only come from within. You stop seeing people as saviors or villains and start seeing them as human beings, flawed, complex, struggling just like you. This doesn't mean you stop having boundaries. It doesn't mean you tolerate mistreatment or stay in toxic relationships. It means you stop giving away your power by making others responsible for your emotional experience. You begin to ask different questions. Not why are they doing this to me, but what is this situation revealing about me? Not how can I change them, but what part of myself am I refusing to face? This shift in perception is radical. It means that every conflict, every betrayal, every disappointment becomes an opportunity for self-knowledge. The external drama becomes a doorway to internal truth. And when you truly integrate this understanding, something extraordinary happens. You stop creating enemies. You stop needing villains to blame for your suffering. You realize that the battle was never out there. It was always within. And the moment you stop fighting yourself, the world stops fighting back. But even this realization is not the end. Because Jung discovered that there is a deeper purpose behind all of this, behind the persona, the shadow, the archetypes, the projections. There is a psychological process unfolding beneath the surface of your life, a journey towards something he believed was the ultimate goal of human existence. He called it individuation. And it's not about becoming better, it's about becoming whole. Most people spend their entire lives trying to become someone they're not. They chase success, approval, perfection, believing that if they just achieve enough, fix enough, improve enough, they will finally feel complete. But Carl Jung discovered something that shatters this illusion. The goal of life is not to become better, it's to become whole. He called this process individuation, the lifelong journey of integrating the conscious and unconscious, the light and the shadow, the persona and the authentic self. It's not about self-improvement, it's about self-realization. It's not about erasing your flaws. It's about accepting them as part of the totality of who you are. Individuation begins the moment you stop pretending. The moment you stop performing for others and start living for yourself. The moment you stop rejecting the parts of you that don't fit society's expectations and start integrating them into a coherent, authentic identity. But here's what makes this process so difficult. It demands that you give up the very things you've been taught to value most. Your image, your reputation, your need to be seen as good, successful, admirable. Individuation asks you to sacrifice the persona, not because it's bad, but because it's incomplete. Jung believed that the first half of life is about building the ego, establishing your identity, your place in society, your sense of competence and control. This is necessary. You need structure. You need achievement. You need to prove to yourself that you can survive and thrive in the world. But somewhere around midlife or during a crisis, the psyche begins to rebel. The things that once mattered start to feel hollow. The success you chased no longer brings satisfaction. The relationships you built feel superficial. The identity you constructed starts to crack. This is not a breakdown, it's an invitation. The unconscious is calling you toward the second half of life, the journey inward, where the goal is no longer achievement, but meaning. No longer validation, but authenticity. No longer perfection, but wholeness. Individuation is terrifying because it asks you to let go of who you thought you were. It asks you to face the shadow, the parts of yourself you've been taught are unacceptable, and integrate them without judgment. It asks you to withdraw your projections and take responsibility for your inner life. It asks you to step out of the collective identity and discover who you are when stripped of all external definitions. This is why so few people complete this journey. Most stop at the persona. They build a life that looks good from the outside and never question whether it reflects who they truly are. They avoid the shadow because facing it is too painful. They remain unconscious to the archetypes controlling them because awareness demands change. But those who do embark on this path discover something extraordinary. They begin to experience a sense of inner unity that no external achievement can provide. They stop feeling fragmented, pulled in different directions by conflicting desires, fears, and expectations. They start to feel whole. Individuation doesn't mean you become flawless. It means you become integrated. You accept that you are capable of both kindness and cruelty, that you contain both strength and vulnerability, that you are neither purely good nor purely bad. You are human, complex, contradictory, and complete. Jung believed that the self, the totality of the psyche, both conscious and unconscious, is the true center of your being. The ego, the conscious I you identify with, is just a small part of that greater whole. Individuation is the process of aligning the ego with the self, allowing your conscious life to reflect the deeper truth of who you are. This alignment brings a profound sense of purpose. Not the kind of purpose that comes from external goals or societal approval, but an inner knowing that you are living in accordance with your true nature. You stop asking, "What should I do with my life?" and start asking, "What is my life asking of me?" And here's where Jung's teaching becomes most radical. He believed that individuation is not just a personal journey, it's a collective one. Every time someone integrates their shadow, the collective shadow loses power. Every time someone withdraws a projection, the world becomes a little less divided. Every time someone chooses authenticity over performance, they give others permission to do the same. You are not just healing yourself. You are contributing to the healing of the collective unconscious. Your personal transformation ripples outward in ways you cannot see, cannot measure, but that are nonetheless real. But individuation is not a destination. It's not something you complete and then move on from. It's a lifelong process, a continuous deepening of self-awareness, a constant integration of new layers of the unconscious. There's always more to discover, always more to integrate. always more to become. And that's the paradox Jung left us with. The journey toward wholeness never ends. But it's also the only journey worth taking. Because the alternative is to live as a stranger to yourself. To spend your entire life performing, projecting, denying, never knowing who you truly are beneath the masks. So the question is not whether you will begin this journey. The question is whether you will do it consciously or unconsciously. Whether you will choose it or resist it until life forces it upon you through crisis, loss, or unbearable emptiness. Jung once wrote, "There's no coming to consciousness without pain." He was right. Individuation demands that you face everything you've been avoiding. But he also knew this. The pain of remaining unconscious is far greater than the pain of becoming aware. Because when you live unconsciously, you are not truly living. You are being lived by the persona, by the shadow, by the archetypes, by the projections. You are a puppet moved by invisible strings, never realizing that you could cut them and walk freely. But when you begin the process of individuation, when you take responsibility for your own psyche, when you integrate the light and the dark, you become the author of your own life. Not in the sense that you control everything, but in the sense that you are finally awake to what is moving through you. And that awareness changes everything. Carl Jung spent his life exploring the depths of the human psyche. What he discovered was not comforting, it was confronting. He showed us that we are not who we think we are. That beneath the surface of consciousness lies a vast, complex, and often terrifying inner world filled with shadows, archetypes, and projections that shape our lives without our awareness. But he also showed us something else, that this inner world is not our enemy. It's the path to wholeness. The persona, the shadow, the collective unconscious, projection, individuation, these are not obstacles. They are invitations. Invitations to see yourself clearly, to stop pretending, to stop blaming, to stop running. Jung believed that the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. Not the person society told you to be, not the person you pretend to be, but the person you were always meant to become, whole, authentic, awake. So here's the question. Are you ready to stop hiding? Are you ready to face the parts of yourself you've been taught to fear? Are you ready to take off the mask and see what's underneath? The journey is not easy, but it's the only one that leads to freedom. Share your thoughts in the comments. What part of yourself have you been hiding? What mask have you been wearing? Have you started to see your own shadow? Your reflections might be exactly what someone else needs to hear to begin their own journey. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel, leave a like, and watch the next recommended video to continue exploring the depths of your own consciousness. Because the journey inward never ends, but every step brings you closer to the truth. Thank you for watching.